In this video, I want to share with you two big mistakes that I made with mindfulness. And you could argue they're actually the same mistake, so just one mistake, that I'm going to treat them as two mistakes. So the first mistake comes from the reason that most of us, many of us, come to mindfulness in the first place. The idea that it can help with stress relief and feeling more relaxed and those sorts of things. And it's true, those can be positive benefits of practicing mindfulness. But we have to be really careful. So what I did initially was to practice mindfulness, think this is wonderful, I feel much more relaxed. And it increased my capacity to take more things on, to deal with more stress. So what I ended up doing was increasing the amount of stress in my life because I could cope with more of it, which is not a very kind thing to do to myself. And eventually you end up just running into a boundary, practicing a bit more mindfulness, getting a bigger bucket, taking on more stress. And so you're never actually kind of free from the stress. You're just bringing yourself lots more stressful situations. And then if something else comes in to your sort of already heavy workload or whatever it is, it tips things over to the edge from coping to not coping, where really what we should be doing is operating well within those boundaries, so that when something bigger does come along, we have some capacity to deal with things and just ride those little humps in the road much more easily. So that's the first one, and it's related to the second one, which is using mindfulness to deal with difficult feelings, either physical pain or emotional pain, and those sorts of things. And the mistake that I made was thinking that I could practice mindfulness and I would make those things go away. And what that did was to kind of set myself up almost at war with those feelings. So the harder I pushed against them, the more they seemed to push back. And then there'd be a kind of layer of mental frustration. Why isn't this working? Why am I feeling still the pain, the suffering, etc.? And just building this thing into something much bigger than it is, which is absolutely the most counterproductive approach to dealing with any kind of pain like that. So those two mistakes are related because what they show is a lack of compassion, and compassion in mindfulness is really important. We can be very mindful of something going on. We could be mindful of the fact that a child is being bullied. I'm observing this child being bullied, and without compassion, we do nothing about it. We just be, oh yes, this is happening, and we wouldn't be moved to sort of maybe say, perhaps there's something I can do about this situation, and bring the compassion in. And it might just be to comfort the child, but compassion's important. You can really see in that situation why that's the case. But when it comes to ourselves, certainly when it came to myself, it was much more tricky to sort of see that actually I needed to be compassionate with myself. So in a situation where I'm dealing with some kind of discomfort or pain, what I've found really helps is just noting, okay, there's something here that feels a little bit tricky at the moment, I'm not comfortable, and to pause and to notice what that experience is like, and to ask myself, what's this telling me? Because in actual fact, pain, whether it's emotional or physical, is usually there for a good reason. It's telling us that there's something that we probably want to change if we can. So with the physical discomfort, sometimes it's a case of, look, I'm not going to go with the kind of cultural norm, which is to pop a pill and carry on. What I'm going to do is to stop and rest and give my body the care it needs. And that may or may not be practical, but it's something that perhaps we should consider as an option more than we do. When it comes to an emotional pain or a physical pain that we can do very little about, mindfulness also gives us some tools to be able to be with that experience without adding layers of suffering. So there's the pain, but there's then layers from the kind of the mental aspect, our thoughts about it, which can amplify that experience. And it's very hard to cover in a short video exactly how to do that, but there are some wonderful resources, lots of books and practices that you can turn to, um, that will sort of help build that as a skill. And my strong recommendation is to practice these skills with something small. Don't practice it with the big stuff. Learning when you're going through something big is absolutely not the place to start. The thing to do is when everything's kind of calm, sit in the rain. If rain is something that you find a little bit tricky, uncomfortable, not pleasant, sitting in the rain can be a way just to learn to be with something which you have a judgment about. And this is really one element of dealing with things that are a little bit uncomfortable, is actually trying to step away from those thoughts and judgments and just observe, and be with the experience without putting the layers of, oh, this is terrible, oh, this is awful. Anyway, that's yeah, hopefully a few tips.